Assalamu alaikum and hi, this is Farah Danish. I am your autism family coach. I have a lovely guest with me. I have Raefah, a special ed teacher, wife, mom, and philanthropist. She has been in the special ed classroom since 2003. Raefah began as a teacher's aide, and she's now a teacher. She has a bachelor's degree in cognitive impairment and elementary education and master's in autism education. When she's not teaching, she is working with organizations such as Perception, Blue Hands United, Special Olympics, and Amity to support events and fundraising that is geared towards supporting special needs individuals. Join me in welcome Raefah. Sorry about that.
Hi, no problem. Everybody gets my name wrong, so it's fine. But thank you for having me on here. I'm like really excited to give my perception on things and just some background experience that I've had.
So, Rafi, I get a lot of questions, and I understand you work mainly with teenagers on the spectrum and young adults.
Yes.
Right? And I get a lot of questions with how difficult it is to work with teenagers on the spectrum. Some go to the extent of saying that they develop narcissistic behavior and they're not the obedient, compliant children that they were, and now they're dealing with a whole different human being. So as a teacher, how is that like to work with? I mean, how do you work with those kind of different behaviors which are attributed to hormones and
Well, luckily I get them in high school. You know, like middle school I feel like is more challenging because they're going through puberty and just new like parts of themselves. And high school they have a little bit figured out. And it's a little like we have to approach this like with sensitivity, you know, like these neurodivergent thinkers, when we look or see them acting in certain behaviors, we might see them as being like narcissistic behaviors because some of those like characteristics may overlap. Okay, but I want to say the reason or their you know, there's like differences with it. So like, for example, like social communication differences, you know, we might see like individuals that are autistic have difficulty with understanding like social cues, you know, somebody else's body language, somebody doesn't like something they may say, or you know, they're not as empathetic as we might want them to be. You know, it might come off as being narcissistic or like only looking for themselves or at their own good, because you know, narcissistic individuals, it's all about them, and they kind of seek opportunities and for validation, you know, whereas like people that are autistic are doing it more for themselves and not so much their self-fulfillment, you know.
right?
And also like they have like certain interests and things that engage them, these teenagers that are autistic, and they might only be interested in those things. So I feel like parents need to be okay if they have this like obsession or fixation on certain topics. It's not that they are narcissistics, you know, necessarily. It's that they are engaged or able to engage in something that they like might perseverate on, you know. Um,
You know,
that might
okay, sorry about that.
no.
I like that what you just mentioned about parents should be okay with children being obsessed of autistic teenagers when they show obsession towards certain topics. Where would you draw the line there? Like, you know, where does that stop? Like the obsession, if they just want to talk about one thing again and again, like how do you manage that?
I feel like if it's harmful,
Okay.
if it's something that isn't safe, like I have students that are obsessed with cars, and I'm afraid to take them outside because I'm afraid they're going to zoom into the parking lot and want to turn on a car. They have an obsession with turning on and hearing an engine and hearing different engine and the bus engine. And so I feel like definitely when it's unsafe, we have to show them that they could access this. Okay, you can't access this to get this fulfillment, this self-fulfillment, because it is a self-fulfillment that they have, whether it's like lining up trucks, lining up cars, or being obsessed with US presidents. I guess like using their likes to help them grow in a more social way, So like if they enjoy like talking about cars, or if they're not, talkative, they could present or learn different things about cars. Like we have to kind of like connect with them. They're not
Okay.
gonna like be like, and you did mention earlier, like it's different than little kids. Like, some parents are working so hard to mask, and they want their kids to
Yes.
look normal and seem normal and seem neurotypical like us. Why? Why are we trying to change who they are, and even pushing these social interactions on them?
Mm.
Is
Yeah.
that necessarily like what they want, or is that what we want? Is that our self-fulfillment or their fulfillment, you
That's
know?
that's a nice one. Yeah.
So I feel like, so where do we draw the line? I think like instead of saying where do we draw the line, like how can we expand that? How can we expand their interest in cars to teach them other life skills or other
Do
functional
that.
skills, through cars, maybe even like um giving them like some sort of visual, like we will talk about cars, not that you're not going to be talking about cars today or play with cars, or I don't know why I'm using cars so much, but this one obsession. Yeah. But being able to like, you'll get this, we'll get to cars, but like how about we do this first? So maybe using it in like a positive light versus a negative, like take it, like taking away, give it to them, but when we
Use it as
get
a reinforcement.
input from them.
Okay, so Raefah, you spoke about that we shouldn't be pushing social interaction onto children who don't necessarily who find it too overwhelming to be engaging and to be talking and interacting. But there is this, I mean, there's so much research on how having meaningful conversations, creating these opportunities of meaningful conversations are needed to develop, for cognitive development. How do we address that then?
So it's difficult. It's difficult to address it with, individuals that are autistic and have a cognitive impairment. Like that's been my experience. So I think we need to be a little creative. We need to be a little patient, and we need to adapt. Like we need to be able to adapt to them and not them adapt to us. So giving them like a supportive environment where we're like nurturing and we're encouraging this open communication. Maybe it is those fixations that we want to try to stop or slow down, or like it's exhausting hearing about their interest, because they perseverate and they repeat and they want to know that you're listening and you agree with them, so but maybe using that, like we want them to communicate, right?
Yeah.
So I think just using like their interest and us being genuine about it too. So
Mm.
giving them like maybe more information or a different light on a topic, you know so if they have like this obsession with like books, like children's books, it's one of mine at work, just like exposing them to different ones, and not like, stop, no more books, like I don't like, we're not getting books right now, we're not reading right now, just being able to like show like their genuine interest in their thoughts and ideas,
Okay,
you
so
know
adapt, be creative, give them a supportive environment, show genuine interest. These are the
Mhm.
points you just mentioned
Yeah,
to be able to create meaningful conversations with children who show that obsession towards certain topics.
yeah.
Yeah.
And giving them like the accessibility to it, like sometimes our kids are not talkative. Maybe they have like AAC devices, like augmentative
Yeah.
and alternative communication devices. So that could even be like, an iPad with like words or choices. It could be like a pegboard. It could be like picture symbols, like just giving them the accessibility to it, and through modeling, Like I know we could talk. I know we know our words. I know we know what to say and how to find them, but maybe like modeling it for them, using these visuals and using these boards or using these AAC like technical devices. Um,
Mm.
because they see us do it, they're more willing to do it. They
Yeah.
see us model it, they're able to see how to do it. And just like follow their lead, like I'm telling you, it's difficult because when they're young, we could manipulate them,
Thank you.
like we
Yes.
really could. We could like play with their minds a little bit and say like, oh, like let's go do this and make things fun. But when they're older, we need to kind of follow their lead and
Yeah. Yeah.
they know what they want. They know what they want, and it could come off as like stubborn more than narcissistic,
Stubborn.
you know.
Actually, yes. That's the right
Like
word.
they are, and sometimes we hear that, oh my, she's so stubborn. I hear that from parents. I'm like, they know what they like and they know they can get it.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we be stubborn? Like we would be as adults
As a
too,
dog, yeah. And
Yeah.
I also think, Raifa, that they're curious as well because human beings by nature are curious. You could be special needs as well. That doesn't take
Yeah.
that aspect of that human behavior aspect away from you. They're curious. They want to see. They want to be able to make decisions for themselves and see where that takes them. You know,
Yeah.
and be able to explore as well. So I get
Yeah.
that, and I on that, I have a lot of moms who tell me that, when they want to, exactly what you just mentioned, when they want to work with their children and their children, they know that they have to certain tasks to finish, and they'll get what they'll get what their desired item or their activity after they finish their homework, but they'll still insist on not doing their homework, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these are challenges that teachers face as well. So they have to give multiple breaks to children, but like that can be an escape mechanism as well, right? How do you manage that? Ask for
So
excessive break.
that's like a really like that's like a big like function of behavior for us at school, so we see a lot of escape, escape from completing tasks, escape
Yes.
from particular areas because they don't want to be doing what we're doing, because we have like such a routine, where parents at home might say, oh, we don't see that, they don't run away from us, they don't elope, they don't, but why? Because we don't have the same,
Hmm.
routine and expectations at home. We don't have a worksheet for them most of the time lying around
Yeah.
at home. And so with any activities that we find our kids escaping, we have to let them know. I think we have to like put the expectations in place from day one,
Hmm.
Uh, so we need to take a look, like, is there a pattern at when they're escaping? Are they escaping maybe during just, I don't know, during maybe they just are brushing their teeth, in the morning at home, or is it only during morning work at school? They're only trying to avoid the work and escape it, I guess. So we have to take a look at the behaviors and what is it? What is it about that task that they don't want to do? Is it like a sensory issue?
Hmm.
Is it's not like fulfilling them? Is it like would fulfill us? Um, so it might not be so much that I don't want to listen and not be compliant because I don't want to brush my teeth or I don't want to complete a worksheet. Maybe using these particular like pens or pencils doesn't feel as good to me as it might to you. Maybe brushing my teeth is overstimulating for me. Uh, so we have to take a look at the pattern. Like what are they escaping from? Is it always like the same time, same activity, same task? I think that's really important. We have to let them know you can take breaks. Like we have to maybe implement like structured breaks. Instead of allowing them to take a break whenever they want. I do have a break card. So like they're given like a little post, little like postcard. It says break on it or a visual of break or a
Hmm.
picture of break or picture of them taking a break. Depends on the level of my students. And they just have to they could touch it, they could present it. It's one, they have one. They could use any point in this 3 to 4 hour day.
Hmm.
Um, but we do have structured breaks within our schedule. And in the beginning of the year, we give a lot more. They're coming to school from summer break, and I can't expect my kids to, work for 40 minutes at a time. So I have to build this like endurance, I have to build this work ethic for them. And now, what is it? We are about 6 months into school, maybe. I can't think, but maybe 6 months into school.
Yeah.
And we're able to work 40 minutes because I built that trust with them that you're going to get your break. And it's going to be a great break and you're going to enjoy this break. But now you're sitting for 40 minutes. In the beginning, they were only sitting for like 7 minutes and working. Like that was August, September. I was only getting 7 minutes of work from them. Now, our morning work, they come in, it's like, I don't know, 8:50 until around 9:35. They're still in their seats.
Wow.
Because I built that trust with them, and they knew like, oh, it's on there. It says break. We're going to get it. Like, she's not lying to us. We are going to get that break,
I
you
like
know?
that. I like that. Building
Yeah.
trust through these schedules. That's very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and giving them a visual for it, we're not only telling them you're going to get a break, you're going to get a break, do your work, then get a break. They don't understand that. They have to see like work, break, they have to be able to see it. And giving them these like choices, like your break is not only going to be what I want, but also what we want. It's kind of like free, you know. They're so quick to choose these rewards, which is usually like an iPad and wanting that. So sometimes that might overstimulate them and it's hard to gauge them back.
Yeah.
So usually that's technology and those things that like are more I want to say like stimulating to them or like hype them up a little bit. Those are given the end of the day when I know, okay, like I don't need any more work from them. So in the beginning, their break choices would be something like more like subtle, like relaxing, painting, playing with like Play-Doh, a sensory like video on our big screen, um, listening to music, maybe a walk, things like that. They're able to get that break and they know I'm able to use the iPad later. So again, I built this trust with them that they're going to get it, even if it's like we lose time and they get it for 2 minutes, I have to give it to them. It's not like, oh, we don't have time today, tomorrow. No, they're not going to trust me tomorrow,
Also,
I
they'll
have
know the duration of their break as well. And they stay, and you teach them to stay within that duration. Like,
Well, their break is there's visual. So I have like a larger timer. I have a visual timer for them so they know. And it's not so much like, oh, yesterday she gave us, my students are cognitively impaired too. So it's not like, oh, yesterday she gave us 30 minutes. Today was only 25 minutes, like the math, they're not doing the math in their head, but to them, it's like, I got a break, and for the older kids, for like the students that are higher and able to tell time and know like, oh, you ripped me off, let's give them that break. Like we have to make sure, okay, we'll stop it. We didn't finish it. It's fine. We could finish this activity tomorrow just so I could give them their break because I have to keep that trust with them.
Yeah.
Like they're smart and there's very smart individuals and they're routine too. So we have to remember to keep them trusting us,
Yeah.
like knowing I'm not lying to them or, playing with their minds a little bit. And that's like them being teenagers too. We can't manipulate them anymore. Like, oh, you got your break. No, I didn't get my break,
Yeah, that's
And
exactly
that's
what
when we see
parents is.
behaviors.
Sorry?
And that's when we see like those behaviors, these meltdowns that are like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like there are problems, but we caused it. We
Because
caused it.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I teach parents as well, right? That the trust factor has to be there. If your child is giving you problems, like you just said, giving you behaviors, it's because something went wrong there with the trust factor. And just to repeat everything that you said, you started off by saying, look for pattern, right? And then
Yeah.
give them the structured breaks that they need. Uh, give them choices, structured breaks, written schedules, give them choices. I mentioned trust, didn't I? Did I mention trust in my
Yeah,
thing?
that goes hand in hand. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are the things that we need to take into account for this,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, moving on from there, Raefah, what key life skills do you feel special children should be, I mean, the focus should be for special children? Because parents, and I get a whole lot of them, okay, telling me that, oh, my child needs to learn how to write this, how to read this, how to do fifth grade math, sixth grade math. But then, you still have behavioral issues, you have emotional regulation challenges.
Yeah.
What about that? Like, what do you think the focus should be on first before we start looking at, all the academics? Because I'll be very honest, with Chat GPT and AI, it's just making things so much easier. And I'm now starting to think that, we should be teaching our children how to use these tools rather than fight this. Because, I mean, I think a lot of jobs are going to be obsolete in the near future because how fast AI is moving. And I think our children are missing out because we're still stuck on, our children's handwriting skills have to be this way and that way, when nobody's writing letters to anyone anymore,
Yeah.
fortunately or unfortunately. And we start seeing those behaviors.
Yeah. I mean,
Right?
it's fortunately for our kids that all this technology is available,
Exactly,
like,
right?
I have so many people, so many parents telling me they can't add 5 and 5. I'm like, well, I can't multiply 55 and 50, I use my calculator. We have these tools. We have these tools. Let's use them.
Yeah.
So I try to make things as functional as possible in my classroom. And why do I do that? Well, I'm dealing with autistic teenagers who are coming to me to ninth grade, so they only have 4 years with me. And they're at a pre-K kindergarten level.
Yeah.
How much reading am I going to do day to day to get them up? Have
Yeah.
they reached the plateau? Is this just who they are?
Yeah.
And if it is, we have to respect this is who they are. And I need to make them be independent. I need to help them reach this independence. So, when mom and dad are not around when I'm 25, I'm 30, 35, unfortunately, it's the sad reality. What do we have to do to get them ready? We need to make them independent. We need to build this like autonomy with them, like this freedom for them of
Yeah.
this is who I am and this is how I have to live and this is what I have to do day to day. So I feel like academics, like you said, like all this technology is helping these kids, these individuals, really, like it's for them in the end,
Oh,
um they're going to be able to like do these. I use it. Like I use it. I need a template for an email I have to send. We're using it. Why can't
yeah.
they?
Yeah.
And they're not cheating. They're not cheating the system. These are, this is how we're going to adapt. This is how, this is how
Yeah.
we're going to make jobs accessible to them.
Exactly.
So I feel like, before academic, let's get them to be independent. Let's get them to be, um, participate in the community. Let's get them out, let's get them out. Let's expose them to everyday life, so I feel like, like socially, like these social interactions, whether it's not so much like a friendship, but these social interactions outside family, at the grocery store, at the bank, so having these like social experiences in the community, very important. um that those independent skills like chores, cleaning, hygiene.
Yes.
I mean, like shoe tying, and if it's like a adaptive thing, if they're not able to, if they have like fine motor issues, like let's get them Velcro shoes, like mama's not going to be here all the time to tie shoes, and Sab's not going to be here all the time to tie your shoes. So, like the independent skills, like especially with our teenagers, our teenage boys and girls, like hygiene, especially with puberty,
Exactly.
having that
Do that.
independence,
Yeah.
with that, finances, like being able to, budget finances. I have $100 to spend this week on groceries. What am I going to be able to eat? So we do that a lot within the classroom, like you get the store, I don't know if you get it where you're at, but we get like weekly ads for like grocery stores.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those are accessible online too. We don't have to be able to get the paper ones, but
Yeah.
look at the store ads have them practice writing a grocery list of what we want to get for the week and how much we only have $100 to spend. So budgeting money. Uh,
That's
uh,
nice. I like that one.
yeah, we do that. We do it like we hit on it once a week every month and we like go into depth with it in our classroom. We use a store ad. We look for items in the ad. We have like a scavenger hunt. We look at prices for it. How are we going to pay for it? After we get it and we bring it home, how are we going to store it? Is it going to go in the refrigerator? Is it going to go in the freezer? Is it going to go in the pantry? So there's so many skills with the store ad.
Just
You know,
the
I
sport.
I do a week of work with a store ad, you know. So just having that be not so much, I have a classroom, like having it at home, like real life, them touching the groceries, them putting it in the fridge, like how amazing is that?
Yeah, stop.
Cooking.
I actually,
Yeah,
I'm
then
next to the page that I follow. I've been following your page for like I don't know how many years now. I've learned so much of it, and I've practiced this with Suleiman. He now,
yeah.
yeah, he knows exactly where the pantry goes, what goes in the freezer, what goes in the fridge, what goes in, the pantry cupboard.
Yeah.
So that's like, and I'm going to put that link in your page because that's just been amazing for me when I was homeschooling
And
Suleiman.
I see it with Suleiman, like your videos. I'm like, oh my God, how far he's gone. He's making a meal. He makes a meal for himself. And before he was like afraid to touch things. Cutting was like, and it could be a sensory thing too, like these fruits and vegetables, like they might feel differently. They might be ripe versus, like not. So, like sometimes sensory issues is important to like we need to consider it. But like with you, and we know which parents are exposing their kids at home because on Fridays we do cooking and we could tell which kids have been in the kitchen, which kids know are learning like food safety or practicing like opening packages, shopping for packages um and like you said, there's so much accessible. We were talking about like chat GBT and AI and um whatever, maybe if we're not able to go to a grocery store for whatever reason, it could come to us. There's Instacart. There's, I think, what is it, Food Express where you're at? What do they call it? I don't know. Maybe there's like a company that like we could order our groceries and they bring it to us, but let's
We
teach them
do
how to
have.
use the apps, let's teach them. You could get your groceries just from home on an iPad, on whatever it is, we could order it. It could come to us. So
Yeah.
let's teach them this because, they're not drivers. We make it accessible for them. We can make grocery shopping accessible for them.
For them. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
actually another thing that I plan to do with Sulman. And thanks for bringing that up, even for parents who think the only way to do grocery is to actually take. Yes, it's great if you have that kind of time to take your child to the grocery and, go through this whole experience. Nothing like it. But, if you can't, the future looks very much, app-based. You order online and everything just, is at your doorstep. That's just become a way of life, at least in this part of the world, at least in Dubai. We
Yeah.
see grocery boxes kept outside all our neighbors' doorsteps.
Yeah. It's
But
time and
nobody
it's
has
time
the
and
time.
yeah, let's use it. Like, why not? Like, sometimes I know we try to think like, in America, oh my, they're making Americans' lives so much easier. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, they're making my students, my kids' lives so much easier, like and accessible.
Yeah,
Like they're able, if my students are, I have, some for whatever reason are not going to drive, are going to live on their own in a group home, wherever their option is after, they're able to get what they want. Like if they want a snack, there's like DoorDash, if they want to get lunch, why not teach them to use this? And it's not promoting this laziness or this, like it's making it accessible for them,
accessible
it's,
and also more so for a lot of individuals on the spectrum, Raifah, it's also the whole social interaction, the anxiety that comes with it.
yeah,
So you
yeah, yeah. And
that.
yeah, and it's like it might be like overstimulating for them, the grocery store, the noises, sometimes we're able to like you and I know, oh, let's take some silencing headphones. They might need some sunglasses, they might need something to kind of like calm them to get into the store. But some parents, it's not accessible for them. So they're
Yeah,
like, oh, I can't take them. Like they feel like they're harming them more than doing them good because it is such an exhausting, trip that first time, because they're not like taking in the sensory components. They're not taking in like the social components. They're not taking in, all these things that like we might consider with our like experience, so yeah, like why not? Why not make it accessible for them? And available, you know. And we have to remember this self, it's about them, like again, these like autistic teenagers it's not it's innocence. Like there's an innocence too,
Yeah,
like I have my teenage students, like they still kiss me, they still hug me, they still, and it's not because of they sexually any,
they don't.
whatever. I don't feel comfortable, like feel that from them,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's more like nurturing, maybe like you said, she reminds him of somebody that he was comfortable with, somebody he built this trust with. So
with
maybe he like just connected her with her. Maybe it was even like a nurturing, a motherly,
yeah,
and yeah. So a lot of times, that's why I am comfortable talking to parents about, changes in but like our boys and bodies and being self-aware and as if any other teenage boy has to be told how and when,
yes.
that self-satisfaction or completion,
Mm-hmm.
or we have to teach them there's a place and a time,
Yes.
um and not so much like don't do that, that's that's haram, that's
Yeah,
whatever it is. I feel like we have to be comfortable, because do we want this to be an issue? Do we want this to be an issue when they're 18 and when they're bigger and stronger and so confused and don't know what to do? So I feel like,
for girls as well, Raifa, especially when they're, in their menstrual cycle. Um,
yeah,
and they don't know, they feel uncomfortable, when they have their periods, and they're not able to express. Some of them may be nonverbal. They might not know how to express that they're feeling uncomfortable. And, basically teaching them things like that. And that is something that parents, I would imagine, rely on teachers to teach them
yeah,
how to deal with that. Like, have
yeah.
you had those experiences as well?
But parents might not know, like, like I know,
Mm,
like I know for my female students, like when she's during that time of her menstrual cycle, like I might give her some comfort and maybe give her some chocolate, give her, because these things make us feel good, like when during that time, or they might need a little longer break, they might have to rest with the weight of blanket. So these are things we like, they don't know how to give themselves comfort, they don't, in their mind, it's like, oh man, I really like want chocolate ice cream. It doesn't make sense to them. Why am I craving this right now? But to us, like,
yeah.
we know, like, like I crave things. I want to clean when I'm, during that time. So like, they might, parents might think it's like, they should know that. They should know, or know what they want, but they might not. They might not know what things make them feel good, or self-satisfaction when I'm not feeling well, my stomach hurts, and how to express those feelings. So I think like visuals are good for
And
them.
not to blurt out something inappropriate also in class in front of everyone. That's also something that you have to end up, I mean, I
Yeah.
that's something you have to teach as well.
That happens like quite often with us.
Yeah.
Um, like but we do too. How often do we like just like from frustration, we like let out we sometimes do, and it's okay. And it's okay to be like, okay, I need to breathe. I need to self-regulate. How do I do that? Like they're not gonna process this and like, like talk themselves down in their head. No, we have to like provide them with this, we have to provide them with these things to like self-regulate, whether it is during a menstruation or during like a frustrated time. So
Yeah.
I feel like, and parents do rely on teachers a lot, and then they think we don't do enough. So I don't know. I really don't know.
And
But
that's what the question was, that what would, if you were to advise parents on how to manage this, what would that be? Like
I
what?
think be comfortable talking about it. And it's not a taboo. And they don't know. And it's innocent.
Yeah.
There's like, there's an innocence, even if they are 15, you got to think like they're innocent. They don't know. They're not exposed like we are, because we manipulate these, what they're exposed to, and they don't have friends telling them,
Yeah,
teaching them, like, we do, we shield them, we bubble them. So they really don't
how do they
know.
know? Yeah, I
They're not
had that
watching,
problem. Yeah,
they're not watching the shows and movies we watch to learn things,
yeah,
like
yeah.
neurotypical teenagers.
Yes.
So, because there's interest to them.
I still have
So,
to remind Suleiman to lock the door when he's changing. Like even though he has his, I've got three boys and they have their own space, but he sometimes forgets. And at
yeah,
the
that self-awareness,
apps,
yeah,
yeah, they still have a sister in the house who can walk into their room because
yeah,
she's 9 years old. So I have to
yeah,
keep reminding him that, every time you undress or you're in the washroom, the door has to be locked.
yeah. And
That
again, the innocence, he doesn't think anything of it. Even if he passed you or a sister or not dressed, he's not gonna pause and like, oh, something's not
whatever
right
has
here.
just happened.
Yeah, no, they really don't. And I make a joke about it because
Yeah.
my family always doesn't understand what I do day to day. They think I play all day, which really it feels like it. So it's great. And I tell them, you guys, like my students really only see me. And it's crazy because I have aides in my class. I have like teacher aides, I think you call them, right? Um, I have 4 to 5 in a given time, 4 to 5 other adults. My students only see me. And even though like they're my paras are amazing and my aides are amazing and they're involved and they're sitting side by side with them, not me. But so I make a joke about this all the time. Like I could stand, like I wear the hijab. Even if I was completely naked standing in front of my class, my students won't realize it. They wouldn't think anything is wrong because of this innocence. And they're only worried about themselves and not me, even though they see me every day differently because they're they're just this innocence. It's a beautiful thing though. It really is. And we need to like preserve that in a sense and also teach them to work through it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've covered most of it, most of our stuff. And we stayed on topic. We haven't drifted. Yeah, I love that because I was with a guest previously. I had to really I had my my signs to show that okay, we're drifting, and I start scratching my nose, start doing give those subtle signs. But mashallah, I love the stuff I've got. There's so much to play with over here.
No, it's been really
Yeah, yeah, and I'm going to run it by you, obviously, before I put it on. I specifically like the one that we just, and that was so candid, where we just spoke about, sexuality with individuals on the spectrum, because you're right, parents do feel very ashamed of talking about this. And in one of my master classes, I did bring it up, and I could feel some of the mothers squirm when I brought it up, that it was a back to school master class where we were talking about, some kids who come back after summer holidays, they come back as, you know, different people in that sense,
Yeah.
they've hit
Yeah.
puberty and they're different. So teachers have to figure out how to manage those behaviors then. So, and I could feel parents feeling a bit uncomfortable with that. So,
It
yeah.
is. I mean, it is uncomfortable. I'm very comfortable with it. Like I've been doing high school only for like, autistic high schoolers for at least like the last 6 years. So it's something I'm very comfortable with. And I have this conversation with parents
Yeah.
too, and I tell them, I'm gonna make you uncomfortable right now, and I'm sorry, but I have to say, like whether it's a father or a mother, I'm coming to you as like a professional. I'm not we kind of have to be on the same page with this. And parents are very receptive, honestly. They're great with it. I feel like it's more comfortable. You might have been in like a bigger setting, we do it like more one-on-one, so it's like they're not embarrassed maybe, but I feel like it has to be talked about. And I'm glad we brought it up because like you said, it's a very, you don't know what you could talk about, or not so much what you could talk about, but what's appropriate people want to hear or,
Yeah.
you know, I think it
People
hopefully.
definitely want to hear it, but they don't want to be the one bringing it up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyway, that's great. Thank you so much, Raifah, for this.
Yeah.
I loved it. And I'm so glad I've actually got to speak with you because mashallah, I love following your page. I love the things you do. And I'm like, man, if a teacher like Raifah existed in here in Dubai,
Oh,
yeah,
you're so sweet.